Hey, what is up, everyone? It's Rich. All right, welcome back to the Image 30th anniversary celebration. I was really excited for days about doing this video, and let's do this. So, WETWORKS. I mean, WHILCE Portacio, Scott Williams on WETWORKS. The art is absolutely incredible. Joe Chido colors. I mean, they all completely outdid themselves on this title, and it was highly anticipated. It took a long time for it to come out. Wills had some family stuff that went down, and it put him in the hole a little bit. But when it ultimately came out, it was just a feast for the eyes. Literally, it redefined comic art in a way. I think that Jim, Wills, and Scott had already moved that direction, but if you were a teenager or whatever age you were when you first saw these comics, this was it. This was, the template for awesome. The rendering, the lighting. I mean, Wills just did it all. I know I sing Mark Silvestri's praises quite a bit on my channel because I'm a huge fan of his, but there's no denying how great Wilson Scott Williams were together at this point. It was phenomenal. I remember getting sample pages from Bill Kaplan when I was trying out to get work at Wildstorm, and there were three pages in the maybe 12 photocopies that he gave me that really stood out. One was a really incredible Aaron Weisenfeld piece. The other was Travis Wildcats 15 page, and the other was WHILCE Portacio. Like, I don't know, was it a splash page? It's almost a splash page. I think it's a huge splashy image with like a panel. It may actually be in this issue, or it was an issue 2, but I mean, it was incredible. I remember showing it to my grandfather because I lived with my grandparents growing up, and he saw the samples and he goes, wow, he goes, it almost looks like they're trying to discourage you. And what he meant is just, it was so complex that I think that if you're a normal person, you see this stuff, you just go, I don't even understand like how they're able to create stuff like this. But you work up to it. But anyway, so this is the cover. It's a triple gatefold. Generally, when you see the comic on the stands, you're going to see this central image. You could probably see a little bit of a crop line to the left and right here. But yeah, the cover itself is like this, and then it folds out. This piece to the left would be the back cover, and then this image to the right is inside of the comic, like, folds out. Really beautiful piece. I'm trying to think. I don't know if any of the other #1 issues, I don't think any did even had a gatefold cover at all. So Wills really like up the ante with this. But I mean, honestly, I could do a video just talking about this piece. The guns, it's just all incredible. The armor that they wear. I guess Colossus is a metal covered superhero. But I mean, I thought it was a fairly unique concept too. This idea of well, kind of Venom too. But I don't know. I mean, I think the fusion of what Wills did was in a lot of ways quite original. And anyway, so let's get into the book. I'm going to get out of full screen mode for just 1 second. And let's see here. I'm going to shut this. I'm going to go here. All right. So we are going to look at the comic book. Wills is a guy. The way that these panel layouts are, this isn't an exact example of what I was going to say, but I can point it out. But Wills does this thing that you'll see in his pages where he has long, thin panels, and he will do these really incredible shots with it, and it's something that's pretty influential to me. I haven't been able to flex the idea too much in Crystal Planet, but as I move forward, there's definitely things that Wills did on not only WETWORKS, but when I went back and looked at like his X Factor and X-Men work, I think he did Uncanny X-Men. you see it in there, and you know, I'm a huge Jay Lee fan, and Jay Lee's another one who I think probably got a little bit of that from Wills. I mean, Wills is like the commercial dark artist in a way where sometimes if you lean too dark, you definitely start to lose fans. Like some people just want, you know, pretty people, exciting stories. They don't want anything too weird or creepy and stuff like that. And Willis' stuff can get dark. Lots of shadows, lots of sort of grotesque monsters and stuff like that, and can be pretty intense. But you'll see this motif in many of his pages, and I'll point them out. And in particular, as he moved along, these are quite dense pages. But as he actually got into the book more, he would start to subtract detail. You know, it's very difficult to maintain this level of intricacy throughout like a series, and in particular an ongoing. If you're going to try to produce on any kind of regular basis, these guys are incredibly talented artists, but this is still time-consuming work. No matter how good you are, rendering every little part of the body and things like that really does rack up time. And you know, I will say this though about Wilson's stuff, though, it always actually breathes. When I look at his pages, they don't feel claustrophobic. I mean, it's funny because this shot could be perceived that way because he's coming out of a tight little box. What I mean though is that his pages actually generally feel really nicely laid out, and also like thoughtfully laid out. There's usually some blank space behind things. There's just a nice breather. This is the page. Some of this I've inked, not in this comic book, but Wildstorm had a sample blue line that was a collage of things. I've definitely inked this face at least a couple of times because I would practice the thing, and I've definitely inked this guy before too. I'll find it. I have them here. They had created a blue line, so it was on 11 by 17 artboard, and what they did is they would take like a panel from Wills and have it there. There'd be some Mark Silvestri stuff, maybe a Jim Lee drawing, something from another comic book. And what they were testing you on was how well could you handle all these different techniques? How well could you ink some like little tiny figures that were this big? How well could you ink something bigger? How well could you render a big creepy face like this? And so it in one piece they could challenge you on a lot of different fronts. I've considered honestly in the past actually making copies of it, because I have one that has never been inked too. I have two that I inked, and then I have one that's still brand new. And I was thinking about putting something like that together for my Patreon. And I do want to plug Patreon. I've got over probably 700 videos on Patreon. I've been doing it for several years. It's incredibly affordable right now. It's only $1 to get full access, but it's not going to be that way much longer. As soon as I finish Crystal Planet, not only is YouTube going to change a lot, but Patreon is going to change a lot, and the clock is ticking for lessons and reviews. I've warned this for a long time, but I'm not going to continue doing new lessons and reviews. If people are in the plan and they're getting lessons from me, I'm going to try to stick to that as long as possible, but I won't be adding new people. So if you've ever wanted to get a professional review of your art, or a direct lesson from me on penciling or inking, it's the time to do it is now. I'm telling you. But anyway, so you know, they've got this armor. It's been a while since I've actually read the comic. I kind of moving into these next 30 for 30 videos. I want to try to read these books. I'm finishing a comic right now, so I'm a little busy, but yeah, I mean, there's so many iconic things that Wilson Scott did. These panel borders are very unique. The way that they would do explosions is like, Scott's calligraphy is so influential. Even if you don't know that you're influenced by it, it's probably filtered through one of your favorite artists, and you're getting it from a secondary source. Even these, like, this is a very, very complex page. This panel right here is awesome. It is so good. Also, I want to give a shout out to Chuck Gibson. Chuck Gibson has been commenting on the videos. He'll definitely watch this one. Chuck, what's up? It's nice to see you in the comments section. Chuck Gibson is a great inker. He was one of the guys when I was trying to break in, that I actually had name recognition. He could do. I mean, I hope this isn't an offensive thing to you, Chuck, but you did a really good Scott Williams style inking thing. When you got a hang of it, I always thought that your stuff had captured the spirit of Scott's stuff really quite well. Where Sal Regla and Trevor Scott, both incredible inkers, were a little more slick and a little more stylized. You kind of had like a little bit more of a down and dirty kind of grit to your inks. They kind of really was cool. But yeah, so everyone say hi to Chuck Gibson, because he's a Wildstorm. He's like not the first wave, which is all the image creators, but he's like early second. Like. I'm assuming you got hired from the talent search. I asked him if he would like to come on the channel at some point, but man, this panel is just beautiful. But Chuck said something in the comment section. He goes, it's incredible how still exciting this is. This is very, very like almost like right out of Ghost in the Shell. It's funny. But there's a level of like sometimes shit is just so good that it ends up being kind of timeless. And I think that some of this comic art that the Image founders, was what we're looking at now, did really actually is justifiably thought of that way. It's just some really great work. Man, it's so good. But I'll have a link to Patreon in the description box, and for sure, pop on over and join up. There's over 300 people there. I generally have about 300 people that follow me on Patreon. I rarely plug it, to be honest, but it's that good. That's a lot of patrons. I've seen people with 300,000 followers on YouTube not have even close to that many people follow them on Patreon. There's a reason people are sticking around. I did a 43-minute video on Frazetta's sketches and how to not only study his sketches, but to improve your sketches and what you should be sketching and working on. So I uploaded that yesterday. It's good shit. This stuff is all classic. Really great lighting. Wilce is a teacher too. That's the thing. He left America at one point and went down to the Philippines and actually opened a comic book school and helped a lot of creators, Lineal U one in particular, kind of hone their skills and become like a professional level. Willis is just a natural teacher. He's very passionate about art and passionate about talking about art and passionate about sharing art. And I had the good fortune of not only working with Willis for several years on WETWORKS and Batman, Superman, and I think we did one other title. Batman Confidential. He's really helpful. When I would go in and talk to Wilson, it was kind of when I was first starting to learn to pencil. He was so helpful. I mean, he just gave me so many tips and advice, and he would go over my stuff with me and kind of try to help me out. It was great. He was so nice. But he wasn't really at Wildstorm when I first got hired. He worked there, but wasn't coming into the office. So I didn't really meet Wilson until maybe 3 or 4 years later, like where I really was seeing him on a regular basis. I also want to go through the WETWORKS source book. I pulled it up, but there's a lot of double-page spreads that need to be put together, so I didn't have time to do it this morning. But we'll definitely go through the WETWORKS source book. There's a lot of really great pinups in there. In particular, some Nick Manabat stuff, which will be really fun to see. Wilson Scott Williams' hair was very influential to me when I was learning to ink and draw and stuff like that. The shimmer and the way that the hair looked, not necessarily the style of the hairstyles. What I mean is just how like this look. It was so cool looking. Nice thin strands, nice like kind of highlights and shadows in it, and yeah, it was always dynamic. Man, this shit is good. It's really incredible how much black he puts on figures. This dude was on it. So it'd be great stuff to study. Very complex though. It would be hard to ground it without some pretty solid foundation on your part, because it's pretty intense, as you can see. And Wilson is on Instagram, so definitely follow him on Instagram. Probably he may be on Twitter too. I'm not as active on Twitter, so I don't really know. But yeah, man, this stuff is so cool. This is just the density of it reminds me of Michael Golden, and even kind of some of these like small little black areas and stuff like that has a little bit of a Michael Golden. It could be the color too, actually. It's really really cool. Man, that's intense. Yep, yep. Oh, it was so exciting. There was a preview. I was wondering if someone could help me remember what it ran in. But there was like a couple of page preview that I thought ran in like an early Image book, and it might have been Wildcats like issue 2 or Pit or something. But I remember there being something like that. If anyone knows what it was in, let me know, because I wanted to hunt it down, and I'll throw that in the source book video, because I was trying to remember what it was. But it was, I think it was in the back of a comic, like an early Image book, like coming, WetWorks. Man, this is so good. Wilson's stuff on I guess Uncanny X-Men is really, really good too. He drew really pretty girls. And again, just the dynamicness of it. My cat's talking to me. Man, this is great. And this stuff I do believe was really influential to like Aaron Weisenfeld on Team 7 when he was kind of cutting his teeth on that book, and Travis too, I think definitely got some things from Wilson. People always will say that he's like a Jim Lee clone, but that's selling him far short of what was really going on. And in fact, I honestly, like, I don't know. It's like people are like a broken record with that stuff. It's like it's been 30 years. It's like their knowledge base is limited, so it's like that's all they can equate it to is like one thing. I see it with music. I always mention I watch like a lot of like music things. It's so funny. Like people in comments section, they'll go, "Oh, this sounds like so and so." It's like, dude, like, do you realize that there's like 7 other bands that this sounds way more like, but because you only know one popular band, you're gonna compare it to that. But man, this is great. Willis did a great run on Punisher too. That's right. When I saw this, it's like, damn, that's Frank Castle. But that was some of the first. That was the first body of work that I collected of Willis. Was that in my local comic book shop they had a quarter box, and there was a pretty large run of Punisher, the regular Punisher series and War Journal, and I grabbed as many as they had, and got a really nice run of Wilson's stuff on Punisher. And in fact, I ended up completing it. There was a few that were expensive that I had to buy as like premium back issues. His gun, it's really funny. This is actually a pretty wordy book, to be honest. I was noticing on some of the other pages, there's a decent amount of dialogue in this, and with all the crazy art, it's amazing. It was all fit in. I'm not crazy about that sound effect. It looks a little too like this. Looks like 70s, like I always get a call like right now. Um, it's like telemarketing thing. Yeah, this reminds me of like something that would be in like a stoner comic or something like that. Just the font choice is not good. Um, I would grab my phone, but it's like 10 feet away from me, and I can't really get to it because of the microphone. This has a lot of like, you could definitely see Aaron Weisenfeld vibing off of this. Schlurp. This stuff is cool. It's like you try so hard to have no interruptions when you do a video for YouTube, and then shit like that happens, and it's so annoying. Like, I normally have my notifications on my phone turned off. I had to turn them on yesterday, and then this happens. I want no notifications, no contact with anything or anyone when I'm working. Nada. This is a great page. Again, these white backgrounds are cool. It's like I'm not a big fan of a lot of white on pages for my own stuff, but it works so good with Wilce's stuff. It looks really good. And I don't know what would be a better idea for the background, but just remember, it was David Finch and I, when we were doing Batman Dark Knight, it would drive me nuts with having white behind the pages. I felt like every page really actually looked much better with black, like this all blacked out. It seemed to push the art forward, but like I said, it doesn't bother me at all with this stuff. This is great. All these cylinders with the shots. God, it's so cool. And everybody has different aesthetics. I mean, that's kind of the fun of comics, is the fact that it's something that I don't particularly think would work for me, but I actually enjoy it in Wilce's stuff. I mean, that's kind of the cool factor of it. Everything is so detailed. God, his mind. Oh, I thought this was actually like a I literally thought, this is what I thought this was. I thought this was someone's foot coming in, and that they had, like, you know, those things that kind of strap over feet, like you know, like I don't know what they call it, but like almost like a like an armband kind of thing going over it, but it's actually someone holding something else. She was like, "Look at my shoelace, dude." He's like, "We better get you new laces." Creepy dead guys. This was an oversized issue. This is really cool right here. And this is great too, man. Yep. Man, what a great... And this is so powerful. All this fading into black just really, really looks cool. Oh, man. Oh, this is one of my favorite pages of all the WETWORKS stuff and like all the comics. I don't know what it is, but this shot of her standing here is just... I think it's just the awesomeness. That's so good. This is knocked out a little bit too much for my particular taste. It's like I would like the line art to show up just a little tiny bit more, but it works. And in the comic, it's a little more clear. And again, this Aaron Weisenfeld definitely was really pulling a lot from this, and in particular Team 7 #1. Man, it's so kick-ass. I really don't know Wilce's background in terms of like art education, of how he learned to draw. I don't remember ever hearing him say, but it would be interesting to know if just he was a fan of comics as a kid and would draw, you know, and then just got better and better at it. But either way, man, he's good. This is so classic. This guy too. Dude, they're so tough looking. It was interesting too. Aaron would even do that. I kind of consider that almost like a Bernie Wrightson type face, like the Ichabod Crane kind of look. This is cool. Man, this whole thing is just good. Boy, oh boy. What an issue, man. This is the #1 issue. You could stack this up against just about any #1 comic, and man, Will's brought it. Yeah, a piece like this, like talk about time. A panel like this would probably take 3 to 5 hours. You think so too, Kitty? I could do the figures pretty fast. I mean, this would take maybe 30 minutes, 40 minutes. This would take maybe another half hour. You think that would take a half hour too, Kitty? Yeah, okay. And then this wouldn't be so bad. And then the background I would do last, work around them. Then this would be pretty time consuming. This would take a good part of a day, at least 6 or 7 hours. So back then, you know, definitely it's like just an area like that. I mean, you might spend 10 or 15 minutes, probably not 15, but maybe 10 minutes kind of rendering something like this. You know, it really can stack up. Okay, that's it. All right, so look, you guys have a great day. Tentatively, I think we're supposed to have Sarah Frazetta on, at least briefly, on Sunday, for the announcement that the Frazetta girls made with actually the company that I'm working on Crystal Planet for. I actually knew about the Frazetta deal that they had when I took Crystal Planet. It was actually one of the reasons that I took Crystal Planet. I couldn't really say it at the time, but yeah, I was offered Crystal Planet, and then I knew that they were getting the Frazetta, like some type of Frazetta license, and they were going to be producing Frazetta related comic books and doing Frazetta related things. And so I was like, man, this would be a good opportunity to not only work with my friend Lexi again on something, which Lexi, it's his company, but also be able to work on some Frazetta stuff maybe in the future, because that would be really, really fun. And Lexi, for people that don't know, he worked for Iron Maiden and hired me to do some art for Iron Maiden, and then we did a Megadeth book together, story that he wrote. But again, they're all published through his company. He owns the company. So and he's a young guy. I mean, all things considering, he's in his probably mid-30s, so he's really, really successful, and a hard worker, and just a very visionary guy. So anyway, but yeah, they're doing a Death Dealer comic, and I don't really know much about it other than the fact that there is going to be a Death Dealer comic. And I mean, Frazetta's catalog, there's a lot of really interesting original characters that he created that, with good writing and good art, could be a pretty interesting playground for people interested in that kind of thing. My main focus, to be clear, is Blaster Kid. I'm not really looking to do other work. In fact, I'm not taking other work. But still, it's exciting for the people that want to get involved with that kind of thing. So anyway, all right, you guys have a great day. I love you all, and make sure you smash the like on this video. In particular, if you made it to the end, it really does help the channel. And go head over to Patreon and check it out. All right, I'll talk to you guys later. Have a great one. Bye.